The answer is not blown in the wind no more. The answer stares you in the eyes. The answer is not blown in the wind. And the question whispers in my mind, take another look around behind the headlights. The answer stares you in the eyes.
Hi everybody, my name's Gus Sousa and this is our house in downtown Salem. And this is my solar coach, Jeff Cohen. Woo!
Go Gus.
And we've owned the house for about 15 years. And last year in February, I went to the Solarize Salem meeting, and we talked about getting our panels, and we went through the process. And by August of last year, we had the panels on the house, and as of September 10th, they've been up and running for a little over 14 months now. Well, Tom, to be honest with you, I thought it was besides being helpful to the environment, for us, it's a great money maker. Our bill a month is about $50 a month for electricity, which is very small, and most people think that if you only have a bill that small, you probably don't need it. But for us, it's become a second income for us, basically.
Do you have any statistics, Gus, that would show how well you've done by purchasing a solar system?
Sure. We got some stuff here, Jeff.
One of the things that I coach people about is the value of buying a system as opposed to leasing a system. And there's a lot of benefits. For example, you can get better quality equipment. You can make more money. You can offset your electric. You can get better warranties. And Gus and his family is a great example. And he's got some terrific stats to show how a nice solar system like he has on the roof can generate good return on investment and benefit the environment. As we say, be green and make some green. So one of the values of signing up under a program like Solarize is that the Solarize installer had to contract pricing with the Mass Clean Energy Center and the Department of Energy Resources. And because of that, Gus got a price that was 33% better than if he went on the open market.
That's right.
And maybe you have some pricing, like what you started with and where you ended up.
Okay, so just to give you a figure, so I contracted with RGS, who was for 15 panels here on the house, and that price came out to a little over $16,000. And then with our mass rebate here, we got about $3,900.
Right.
And then, so my initial cash layout, when we're going to talk about numbers, came out to $12,325. So that's what I paid for these panels.
Now I'm going to take it from here a little
Yep.
bit. So in addition to that, Gus was able to take advantage of a $1,000 mass tax credit. And for people who don't know, a credit is better than a deduction. It's not lowering your taxable income. It's actually a one-for-one credit on your taxes. And that still exists today, as does the 30% federal tax credit. And so that's a tax credit on the full value of the job. So in Gus's case, that was almost $5,000. In addition to that, what's really exciting is if you do any, and you can do this today, any kind of upgrade or change to your property in anticipation of solar. So Gus had to do some repairs he can talk about specifically to his roof and his electric, and he was able to apply over $4,000 in tax credits to that. So what kind of improvements did you do to your house?
Well, it was kind of an orchestrated thing. The first thing we needed to do was, with the old roof, we needed to work on the chimney. So we repaired the chimney while the old roof was still on. That was the most critical thing. We had some tree work done to make sure that they weren't shading the solar panels. That was done next. And then we had a whole new roof put on because I knew that the panels were at least going to be up there for, 20, 25 years, maybe even 30 years. Like in
More.
Yep.
They're warranted for 25
Right.
years, so no one warranties a refrigerator for 25 years unless it lasts longer than that. One of the cool things about doing this work is he was able to get a roof job done and apply the 30% federal tax credit. So he not only enhanced the value of his home in general,
which needed to be done anyways.
he got a cheaper price on the roof
Right.
job. And what's really cool is when this is all said and done, How long will it take you to pay off the panels?
Less than 3 years.
He'll make a 20% return on investment. Try to do that on the open market.
Not easy to do.
Last year, I ran the Solarize program in Salem, but this year I work as a solar coach as I did last year. I'm an objective, unbiased solar coach. My goal as a human is to have as much solar installed as possible, but to make sure that the customer, the resident, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, commercial, or a nonprofit, gets the best deal for you. There's a lot of different options out there, and unfortunately not all of them, sometimes people don't get the best option for them. This year I started working with an environmental group called SAFE, Salem Alliance for the Environment. It's a nonprofit becoming a 501c3, and they contract with me to be the solar coach. So anyone who needs solar advice like Gus did, or a lot of people in Salem, or actually anywhere in Massachusetts, I'm willing to review proposals, let them know how they can benefit financially, as an unbiased advisor. And right now, you have the tax credits, you have the solar renewable energy certificates. These exist today. Right. And on his sheet here, he will benefit in 3 years between $3,000 and $4,000. This is where, in addition to offsetting a certain percentage, 100% or a little bit less of your electric bill, you can sell 100% of your power, and you get a check every quarter basically, and those are solar renewable energy certificates. The way it works is the companies like National Grid and Eversource have to produce a certain percentage of power every year through solar and wind, and it goes up every year. And if they can't, which they really can't, they would pay a penalty. Instead of paying a penalty, they will write you a check and buy your solar renewable energy certificates, which is part of the formula that Gus was talking about to get him such a good return on his investment. But yeah, you can take advantage of all those today.
How many physical things in life actually pay you back? My car, which probably costs a little less than what I paid for my solar system, is not going to pay me back in 4 years. If you're going to invest some money in something and you want a return, solar's the way to go.
And we recommend, not just from Gus's example, we recommend you buy the panels. Today, probably didn't exist as much when Gus was doing it. They have no money down loans. You pay about the same amount to purchase your panels as you would do leasing them. But Gus is right. In what scenario do you drive off the car lot and you get revenue for buying a car? Here's a case where you do something good for the environment, you save a lot of money, on your electric bill, which doubles every 10 or 15 years. And what's really great is using these incentives like the SRECs, like Gus, he's going to make a profit of about 20%. Just tremendous. Go Gus, yeah.
Go solar. I'd gotten a call from Jeff and said, hey, listen, Gus, we're going to have one of these meetings in February. There's some really good options going on right now. There's some really good rebates that probably aren't going to be around forever. So he said, take advantage of them. And, I listened to him. Like anything else, when you're going to lay out good money for something, you're a little skeptical about anything, So, but I went to the meeting, and I think I was probably one of the first 10 or 15 people to sign up. So, and it's been, I signed up in February. I got on the tier. We got on the tier system. All 5 tiers were full.
So the tier was, it was a 6-month program that expired in June. It went from January through June, and the more people signed up and committed to installing solar, the cheaper the price went down. That doesn't exist today in Salem. However, we're still connecting people. We're still trying to negotiate good terms, and so we're doing it through this entity called Safe Solar, which is the nonprofit. And we have a Facebook page, Safe Solar. We have on the SAFE, Salem Alliance for the Environment, we have a link to a portion of the web pages dedicated to Safe Solar. And people can always reach out to me. I'm actually at safesolarcoach@gmail.com. But what we're trying to do is make sure that people are able to take advantage of the best incentives they can and get the best program they can. So even though it's not exactly the same as the solar program, the government incentives are still the same. And the pricing of equipment has come down. So even though Gus got a really great deal last year, every year the pricing of the equipment is a little bit cheaper. So, we're pretty much getting people about the same kind of deal that Gus did last year.
Yeah, I think if you can fall in the $800 to $1,000 per panel plus the whole installation, which is the panel price. I think mine was about $822. I mean, those are good numbers.
Yeah,
real good numbers.
Depends on how many solar panels you put up.
Right.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier. Right.
For equipment, Gus has 15 Solar World panels. They're made in Canada. They're very efficient panels, and he uses N-phase microinverters, which is a California company. And the microinverter basically makes each panel its own system, which is safer and makes it more productive than if you all the panels lead together like a string, like Christmas tree lights. They then go down into his basement and go into the grid, but he has a solar meter that the solar company installs, so he measures how much production he produces. Actually, it's by the minute or the second.
Yep.
And it accrues over time, and he can pretty much estimate what he gets. One of the cool things about the microinverters is he can go online. They have an app as well, and he can see at any particular time what he's produced on his system.
By month or by day or by minute almost, yeah.
So it's a very good system. One of the great benefits of buying a system, it's just like buying a car, is you can determine the quality of the product that you put on your roof. It also, just so you know, the worst thing for your roof in the summer is the heat on the south side of your roof. These panels are raised up on racks and they insulate the roof. In the winter, the worst part is the weight of the snow. They're tilted, they're a little bit warm, they're a little bit slick,
Right.
and the snow pretty much comes off the panels faster than it comes off the roof.
I had no problems this winter. We got 120 inches up here in Salem, and every day by the next sunshine, that snow was gone. So, and just to let you know, I just reached the 5 megawatt stage 3 days ago. So that means my system has been on for 14 months now and has produced 5 megawatts. That's pretty good. That's higher than I thought it was.
If you look at your electric bill, it's all your usage is in kilowatt hours. So a megawatt is 1,000 kilowatt hours, and by producing every 1,000 kilowatt, he produces a megawatt, he gets an SREC. So you can see how the money plays out. It's a great deal. I'm really happy for Gus. Be happy for anyone who gets solar the right way. As long as you can get a shadow, you can produce solar. But of course, the more sun, the better. In the winter, the panels are more productive because they work better in the cold. But in the summer, you have a much longer day, so you're going to have significantly more production. So usually in the winter, you produce less, and it evens out over the year. The way it works in Massachusetts is we have a net metering law that says if you produce more than you use, you create a lifetime credit, and that helps offset the months that you have less production than your usage.
Jeff, I printed out a paper this morning that showed today's usage. It said it was 61 this morning and cloudy, but I'd already produced 4.5 kilowatts. So even on a cloudy day, I'm still making energy. I'm still making money.
It's about 50 cents.
It's more than I had yesterday.
One of the exciting things that's going on in Salem is the installation of solar on municipal buildings. I'm lucky enough to work with Jeff Ely, who's the city's sustainability and energy manager. And the city is putting the most innovative solar installations on municipal buildings projects in the state. For example, the first project is the Bentley School and the high school. And the city will save somewhere over $200,000 a year on these projects. What's really exciting is that money is going to be earmarked for the school system. We'll also be putting on other solar panels, the city will, on other municipal buildings such as the fire station, the police station. And what's really exciting about that is kind of, people may have heard of microgrid technology. In the event of an emergency, we can create our own battery backup using the solar panels to power the batteries. So if for whatever reason there's a flood or this emergency technologies are needed, we'll still be able to power them through this renewable resource.
This is our what's called the deduct meter. So when this meter was put in September of last year, it read 0, and now at this time it reads basically it reads minus 2,000 kilowatts or 2 megawatts. That shows me how much electricity over the last 14 months or so that I've actually pushed out into the grid. When it got installed in September of last year, it was at 0, and then as I went through the winter, it went into positive range as you use electricity like your other meters. So it went up to about 1,000 kilowatts. And then as the springtime came in May, it went back down to 0 and then went back into a negative range. And now we're at minus 2,000 kilowatts or 2 megawatts. And as winter comes, it will go back up and head towards 0. So basically, my meter will never read anything plus 0. In the wintertime, why it heads back towards 0 is because we create less energy on the solar panels, and we use more energy for heat and electricity and that kind of thing. So we create about 110% to 120% of our annual usage through these panels. Since April, we've had no electric bills. We've only had an electric bill for 4 months, December, January, February, and March. And I'm planning this year, since now we have a solar credit and an electrical credit also, that number should be 0. So our electrical spent money on electricity should be 0 overall year to year. We're down in the basement now, just to let you see what's going on here. The conduit pipe comes across the ceiling here and down into here from the roof, and then this cord goes over to my second floor apartment. The meter is now reading 0.6 kilowatts an hour, so that's what we're producing right now. For the sun level right now is about 0.6 coming in. Like I said, I was telling you outside, we just had reached the 5 megawatt threshold last week, and now it's at 5018. This is the end phase, that thing that Jeff was talking about. This monitors the system by Wi-Fi, tells us that all the panels are in great shape going on, and that we're in the 1.6 kilowatt range today so far, and everything's running smooth. So that was a description of the PVC system meter here. This meter basically is the heart of the system here. This is the surge protector breaker and the roof array breaker, and this is a lightning surge protector. This thing will explode and take the force of the lightning surge. And that's just about it. Very simple, no moving parts, and it's a real fun and enjoyment to have a solar system and get to see some benefits from it.
I had a solar photovoltaic system put in end of June 2010. So at this point I've had more than a year's worth of experience with it, and can kind of give you an idea of how it went. Did it meet its expectations? Am I happy with the whole process? And the answer is yes to all of those. It's a fairly complex process, but I put in enough capacity to essentially cover all or a little bit more of the electricity that I use. We use about 500 kilowatt hours per month on average across the year, and my system generates maybe 10% more than that on average across the year. Of course, in the winter months, it doesn't make anywhere near as much as it does in the summer. But you have to look at the whole process on an annualized basis. I put in about 5,000 watts worth of capacity, which is 24 panels. My entire top of the roof is covered with them. In essence, it's been a moneymaker. Really looking at this from a financial point of view, you have to look at the upfront cost and then the payback time, or return on investment, if you will. And when I did this, and that's a moving target, but when I did this, the return on investment is about 5 years. And that clock actually only started ticking last week when we had to actually put out our first penny. We had an 18-month interest-free loan, which was part of the incentive package. And that bill just came due last week. So our return on investment clock actually didn't start ticking until now. And we already have a year and a half's worth of power in the bank. And the payback gets pretty complicated because there's really two sources of income that are part of that. One is your avoided electric cost. Our electric bill on an annualized basis is slightly negative. They actually have to pay us. In the winter, obviously, we don't make as much power as we use, so we have to, well, technically pay them, but we actually have a credit of about $200, and over the winter that credit will go down. It'll never get to the point where it's zero, and then next summer it'll go up. And if at some point that credit becomes more than $200, they actually have to cut us a check. So there's the avoided electric bill cost, which for us is about $1,300 a year. We use about 500 kilowatt hours per month on average. Some people are going to use not much less than that. Others could easily use double that depending on your house, the size of the house, number of people living there, how energy efficient you are. So there's two sources of income that contribute to the payback. One is the avoided electric bill, and that's about $1,300. The other is a little more complicated. It's called Solar Renewable Energy Credits. There'll be a quiz. SRECs, we call them. And that's a state program, varies state by state, but Massachusetts has a pretty good one. What it is, they require the electric utility companies to buy X% of their power that they sell from renewable energy sources. Now that can be solar, it can be wind, it can be hydro, and so on and so forth. But a renewable energy credit is basically based on how much power you generate. It doesn't matter who uses it. Right now, the going rate in Massachusetts for 1 megawatt of generated power, 1 megawatt hour, of generated power is a little over $500. And they're sold at auction, and part of the sign-up process is you sign up with a solar aggregator. So this all happens without me doing anything, although they take 5% as their cut. But we make about 6 megawatt hours a year, and if I get about $500 for each of them, that's $3,000 of income just for making it. It doesn't matter who uses it. One of the important things about a solar installation is siting, or as they say in real estate, location, location, and location. I was fortunate to have a good site, pretty much southern exposure, about 20 degrees off due south, which is important. You can pretty much be about 45 degrees plus or minus due south and still do it, but my panels are flat on the roof. And if you're not within about 20-30 degrees of due south, you have to have them tilted up a little bit to get sufficient efficiency out of the system. When the installers come, the first thing they do is a site survey, and they tell you what you can do, how much you can put in, and there's actually a site efficiency calculation that they do. They take into account the angle of the roof, the angle of the installation relative to due south, the amount of shading that you might have on the panels over the course of different times of the year, and they come up with X% of ideal. So siting efficiency is a very important concept. In general, you want to be above about 90%, because that really determines how efficient your system is, which determines your payback on your investment. This system here is about 93%, and pretty much anything into the 90s is pretty good. It's rare to get 100% because everything has to be perfect orientation, perfect slope. The slope of the roof here is about 18 degrees. It's a little confusing because the contractor said the ideal slope is 45 degrees. That's not correct. It's got to be something closer to 30. I haven't done the calculations, but the bottom line is anywhere from about 15 to 20 degrees to about 45 degrees, maybe 50 degrees is okay. Anything, a flat roof, You'd have to have them raised up on angles because flat's not going to get you a very good efficiency. But obviously the most efficient system is one where they're just flat on the surface and they don't have to have any mounts. And the efficiency, which is an important concept, keeps going up. As technology improves, the actual efficiency of the panel relative to the power that gets from the sunlight that gets on it versus the amount of power they actually produce. These are about 18%, 19%. My payback, when at the time that I had this, that I put this in a year and a half ago, end of spring, summer 2010, is about 5 years, which is a pretty good return on investment.